Hi, we're C&C.
And in 2020, we took a road trip through the Midwest and fell in love with it.
So we sold our home and traded the West Coast life for the Midwest life. And now we're on a mission to show the world
the fun people,
places,
and exciting events that make up the corn-fed life.
Save me a piece of that corn. Top of the corn-fed morning to ya.
Blarney! I'm Corrine.
I'm Craig.
And we're going to have a fun topic today. And that is the things that surprised us about the Midwest when we moved here.
So yeah, there was a lot of things that surprised us, but we're just going to go into a few of them. Whatever we can fit in about a half an hour. So first thing that surprised us was...
Taxes.
Lots
and lots of taxes, because we ended up settling in the most tax-heavy county in all of Kansas.
We did not do our research.
No.
So we do feel that we were there for a reason. I think we believe that God guided us out here to Kansas. So we did make some really good friends there. So we do not regret moving there. We had a fun time there. But had we done a little research, we may not have ended up there, because the county we lived in had insanely higher taxes than most other counties. And the way it was explained to us was that they don't have a lot of natural resources in that county. And I guess a lot of the counties have oil or other different natural resources that brings in a lot of revenue. So that offsets the need for more tax dollars. But apparently... this county, should we mention it? Anyway, we'll tell you in private if you want to know which county it is. Just message us in the comments. But yeah, apparently they don't have much industry or resources, so their taxes are crazy high. Yes. I mean, a house, for example, we came from Oregon, which is not the most tax-friendly state, but... a house that was worth about a quarter of the price of our house in Oregon was pretty similar in tax dollars.
No.
Nope, I'm wrong.
It was much worse. So a home worth about $100,000, you can expect to pay $3,800 in taxes.
Was that floored. Our commercial place?
Yes.
Well, that was a commercial place, so a bit higher.
It doesn't matter. There was another house that was purchased for around $160,000 and had over $5,000 yearly in taxes.
What?
Yes.
The one thing, too, that kind of ticked me off was the grocery tax. In Kansas, you have to pay taxes on groceries. Not even California charges taxes on groceries. Most states that have taxes, sales tax, don't charge it on grocery store items. But in Kansas, they do. So when we're going to make a big haul, when we're, in the need for a lot of groceries, thank God we're just an hour from Nebraska. So we'll head up north and do a big haul of groceries, because no grocery tax in Nebraska. So that's awesome. But yeah, just kind of a wacky thing about Kansas, because grocery taxes is kind of like a tax on the poor, right?
Right.
Because everybody needs groceries. So anyway, Kansas, that's something to think about.
Yeah. We went to a different county, and the taxes here are about similar as to Oregon for property taxes. So
yeah, so
I'm happy about that.
So speaking of taxes, one of the things that surprised us the most about Kansas. That's not the Midwest overall, just Kansas. I designed my first Midwest-themed t-shirt dedicated to Kansas. We'll put a link below on how you can purchase this shirt. It's pretty funny. And anyway, I hope you'll go and check it out. So take a look at that. And then on to our next topic. What goes along with taxes?
Death.
Those are the only two sure things in life, death and taxes. So the reason we wanted to talk about death is we thought it was funny how in Kansas, especially rural Midwest, when someone passes away, which is kind of interesting because we realize people live to a ripe old age here, because I have never met so many people in my life or seen so many that were in their like around 100 or some of them over 100. It seems like there are a lot of them out here. And,
hardy people.
Yeah. And when one of them passes away, what was kind of funny to us is they print out little brochures about their funeral, and they have them like at all the stores around town. So when you're at a cash register at a gas station or wherever, you'll see these little brochures for all the, one or two or three people that have just passed. But so it just surprises how many old people there are here, and then how they get the word out about the funeral. I thought that was pretty interesting that they distribute those all around town.
Great.
Right. So the next thing that surprised us, which we were kind of warned a little about this from some of the people we knew that had lived out in the Midwest, but nothing can really prepare you for the weather. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we don't use umbrellas out here anymore because it's so windy and the rain comes in spurts instead of raining all day that it would just destroy your umbrella anyway. So there's no point in umbrellas out here.
Not going to work. Yeah, and that's one thing that's cool are the storms. When it storms here, they get a lot of rain here, but it doesn't rain very long. Like we're from the Pacific Northwest, where it will rain for days, and it'll just be kind of a drizzle. Sometimes it'll come down kind of hard. But in Kansas, and I think it's like this in the majority of the Midwest, the storm comes and it just dumps. The rain just, it's literally coming down in sheets. It's not really drops of rain. It's like sheets of rain coming down. Especially, I think the worst storm I've seen out here was when we were up in, was that Minnesota? I think it was Minnesota when we were going through the upper Midwest. In Minnesota, it was so bad that all the cars were pulling off the highway. You couldn't see. It was just thick. The water was just like buckets just dumping on your car.
But since that happens often, the infrastructure that they set up is so that there's such good drainage. You'll see going down the street like rivers and people in boats going down the street. It's just crazy. And then in a couple minutes when the rain has stopped, it's gone.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like an hour after a huge rainstorm, you'll go out and the streets are totally dry. And I'm just like, where did it go? How is it all gone? Because in Oregon, after a good rain, everything stays wet for like days sometimes. It's just everything just stays wet. And out here, it's like it just drains off. Everything dries up. And it's like you didn't even know there was a storm. But it's kind of nice in a way. I like that it's not the funnest experience while it's raining, but I like that it just dumps the rain and then the storm moves on and the sun comes out.
Rips off that Band-Aid quickly.
Yeah. You get all your rain in sudden bursts and it doesn't get, carried out for days.
Right.
And then
so a good thing about buying a house out here is that you will get a house likely with a new roof on it. Why?
Because of the hail, the baseball-sized hail. Well, that's pretty uncommon, but it's not uncommon to get, pretty decent. We saw some that were probably about the size of about not quite a golf ball, I don't think, but maybe like a ping pong ball size. Ping pongs are a little smaller than golf balls, I think.
Sure.
Anyway, but yeah, they can. It's not uncommon. Well, it's like what we've been told is maybe like every 5 to 10 years, you'll get a crazy hailstorm that will just like destroy everyone's roofs in town. So like the town we lived in, almost everybody had brand new roofs because it hails, destroys the roof. Everyone gets the insurance money and puts on new roofs. So yeah, it's kind of nice. So yeah, you don't see very many old roofs if one of those storms have come through recently.
So I've always enjoyed watching thunderstorms, but out here you get a really good show. It's not just, I hardly ever see the bolts of lightning, but what it is mainly is different clouds lighting up because it's a different type of lightning out here. It's more scattered, I guess. And it's like a little laser light show.
Yeah. Yeah, you rarely do see the bolts come down to the ground. And the thing that's crazy about it is it happens so fast. In Oregon, you'll get like a couple lightning bolts. They'll come down, and then there won't be another one for probably a minute or two, and then some more. But this one in Kansas and in the Midwest overall, I believe, the lightning is like boom, 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 boom. You see the clouds just like it literally is like no break. Sometimes it'll go for like 20 seconds of flashes, and then maybe it'll stop for a second or two, and then it's all over again. So you just see the clouds just bursting with the bright light. And it
lights up the whole night.
It's pretty awesome. And sometimes that'll happen before the rain. So it'll be dry outside and you'll just see these crazy. In fact, we were in the first time we experienced that was in South Dakota when we were at Mount Rushmore. And it was pretty cool. We were at the Crazy Horse, which if you go to see Mount Rushmore, make sure you see Crazy Horse. It's pretty cool. It'll probably be finished in about 50 years, but you can see...
It'll probably be finished in about 500 years.
Anyway, you'll get the joke if you go there, but it's still pretty impressive to see what they've done so far. They do have most of the head done, and he's going to have a arm extended pointing, but they do a cheesy light show they project it onto Crazy Horse. It's one of these
pretty great.
It's like a laser light show from when I was a kid. When you go to the planetariums and they'd have they'd play Pink Floyd and have like these cheesy laser lights. So they just project them on this poor Indian guy. But the laser show was by far overshadowed by the thunderstorm. The clouds were just with lightning.
Right. It was even kind of scared just sitting out there in the open air while all this lightning storm was going on.
Yeah. But then you see the people around aren't frightened. And so you're like...
No, they're not frightened of any type of weather. If there's a siren going off for a tornado, they all come out of their houses and look to see if they can see the tornado. Nobody's going running for the cellars.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty funny, different than you would expect. And that was one thing that surprised us too, was the sirens. Like, we didn't know what a tornado siren sounded like. And so the first time we were there, we heard the siren go off and it was crazy loud. And I saw a lady out in the street outside of our place. We lived in a commercial building, actually. And she was just loading stuff casually into her car. And so I ran outside and I was like, I guess this isn't a tornado warning because you seem really calm. And she says, oh, yes, this is just for like the emergency fire department or the volunteer fire department being summoned. And then so we learned, just in case you moved to the Midwest, what it is the siren will start really high. It'll be like... and it'll go for, I don't know, like 10 seconds. And then it will finally, after like what seems like forever, it'll fall. It'll go, and then it'll start up again. But when it's a tornado, we learned it goes up high and it doesn't fall. It just stays high for forever until the tornado's passed.
We will be woken up early in the morning by the and we're just hoping, please drop. We don't want to worry about a tornado.
Yeah, and sometimes it just seems like that tone is not going to drop, and you're like, oh no, do we need it? And then it'll drop, and you're like, okay, it's fine. No need to rush for the cellar.
And it surprised us that how prepared you need to be in case of a tornado. I remember there was a tornado warning on the Weather Channel, not necessarily the siren going off. So I went over to my mother's house, and it took us about a half an hour to get her over to our house where there was a tornado shelter.
And why was this?
Kitty cats.
She's a crazy cat lady who we love very much.
Right.
Speaking of tornadoes too, if you're ever in Wamego, make sure to go check out the Wizard of Oz Museum. And when you're done with that, make sure to go have some Toto's Tacos, which is right next to the museum and has pretty tasty Mexican.
Yeah, it was pretty
Mexican
decent.
Food. Yeah.
And I like the decor as well inside the restaurant. It's really cute.
Plus, you can get a fun Wizard of Oz themed shirt with tacos on it.
Great.
What's better than that?
Nothing.
All right. So moving on, the next thing that surprised us was the animals.
Yeah, they grow them big out here.
Yep, they are some corn-fed animals.
Yes.
And that's my theory is why they are so big. It's all the corn, because you do see the animals out foraging in the cornfields all the time.
Right, and there's huge owls, and alongside the road you'll see huge raccoons, and then walking through town we saw ginormous foxes. We never seen a fox that was as big as a dog before.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
And the white-tailed deer, they grow huge.
At mule as well, mule deer.
Yeah, so I think everything, like all the animals, the wildlife seem much larger than what we had in the Pacific Northwest. And the sad thing is, I've never seen so many raccoons that have been hit by cars on the side of the road. And when you see one, they are just huge. They're so fat. And my theory is that the raccoons eat so much food that they get so fat that they move so much slower. So they can't quite get across the road. So you see these big fat raccoons on the side of the road.
Well, they might have a tough attitude just like the birds out here.
Oh.
The birds have an attitude like the car better get out of their way.
Yeah, so we came up with a term. We call them suicide birds out here. That's one thing I never experienced in the Pacific Northwest is birds like dive bombing your car while you're driving down like a highway going 65, 70 miles an hour.
Right, you have to put your brakes on all the time because you really will hit them.
Yeah, you'll have a whole flock of birds just fly, and sometimes they'll just miss your car by inches, and it seems like it happens all the time. And yeah, sometimes like you have to brake to avoid hitting like a whole flock of birds. And I don't understand. I've asked the locals, like, why are your birds suicidal out here? In the Northwest, they do not, they stay away from cars for the most part. I mean, if you hit a bird, it's like a super rare thing. But here, actually, a friend of ours who was doing some work for us showed up, and he has a big, I don't know, it's an F-150 or some big truck. And what did he have in the grill of his truck?
A hawk.
A small hawk. So even... I told him, I said, hey, I like your new hood ornament there. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot to get that out. Anyway, he had a whole hawk just that he had hit with his car because they just are crazy. And that's one thing. I've never seen so many hawks in my life. There are hawks everywhere out here.
It's because so much vermin because of all the crops out here. And then after the corn is harvested, there's a ton of ears still left there with little kernels, so there's so much food for vermin or for birds to eat out here. There's tons and tons of birds and tons of little mice and pheasant. We have never seen so many pheasants as out here.
Oh yeah,
and they're so pretty.
They're gorgeous. Yeah, the first time I saw one off the road, I was like, wow, what is that? It is a beautiful bird. But yeah, and so many eagles. I've never seen so many eagles in my life. Bald eagles. We saw golden eagles.
Yeah, that was exciting.
A pair of golden eagles the other day. We pulled off the road to watch them and take some pictures, and they were just glorious, huge birds.
Great.
So if you're a bird watcher, wow, I don't think you could do much better than the Midwest. There's just birds everywhere. And you wouldn't think so because there's not a lot of trees out here, right?
Right. Like there's so many of the big raptors, and there's no cliff sides around here for them to nest on. Yeah. There's some trees along the rivers, but we've seen so many eagles.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So the other thing that surprised us, moving out to a rural area in the Midwest, we weren't sure how much there was going to be to do, like fun things to do. So what surprised us was all the fun things there are to do.
Yeah. It seems like everybody has this in the back of their mind of putting together parties or special events so that there won't be any boredom out here. There's lots of little towns with not too much shopping, but there'll be brochures in all the little cafes of the events, not just for the town, but for the whole county. There'll be several events every season. And it's kind of fun because you're always guaranteed to have something to do. You know, every weekend will be jam-packed if you want it to be.
Yep, there's pancake feeds, street fairs, rodeos, free fairs with animals and rides and such. And there's just always like something going on near you. It's pretty awesome. Within, I would say, an hour's drive, you could do something every weekend pretty much.
Yeah, craft fairs, which is fun during Christmas time. And they even have quite a huge light show that they put on in Beloit, and it surpasses the ones back home in a much larger town. Yeah. They really go all out, especially for Christmas. So during the Christmas season, the Midwest is like the place to be.
Yeah, and one thing that was cool that I liked about their Christmas light show is each display is sponsored by a certain person. So a lot of people will purchase a display in memory of one of their loved ones that has passed on. So it's kind of neat. So then they can go out every year and see this beautiful light display and kind of reminisce about their loved one.
Yeah,
so
special.
I thought that was a special thing. All right, and moving on. We had heard that, the stereotype is that in the Midwest, they love to take it slow. Is that true?
They usually do, and it's usually really laid back. Like, you'll ask around about something that you need done, and they say, oh, yeah, we'll be out there this afternoon then, and it's all laid back and without a care, except for when you're in line for food. You better get in that line or you're not going to get your food.
Yeah, so if you're at a church potluck or pancake feed or whatever it is, like, they don't mess around.
Or the free hamburgers at the rodeo. Yeah. You better get in that line.
Yeah, and that's what's cool. We went to a rodeo and they had free burgers and drinks. And then we went to the city of Osborne, or Osborne as they pronounce it out
barbecue.
Here. They had pulled pork sandwiches and drinks, and this was all free for the town. And the town of Smith Center has a, what was it called? The Patriot or Old Settlers Day Parade. Also pulled pork sandwiches.
Yeah, and a little town outside of Beloit had a really good pancake feed.
Yeah, free pancake feed.
Yeah.
Was that town called Hunter or something like that? Anyway, just they know how to feed people out here. They love their food and they like to get you fed.
Yes, and it's
for free.
It's not healthy, so it's all tasty.
Yeah, there's some very good barbecue out here. That's for sure. Kansas is kind of famous for their barbecue, and that has held true. Good beef, good barbecue out here.
Right.
All right, and then one thing we would be remiss not to mention. We were surprised at how big high school sports are out here.
Right.
They are huge. It is a big deal. So the first town we lived in during high school football, whenever they would have a home game, they would put the high school's flags all up and down the street. Like you would see, it was like it was a Labor Day parade with American flags, only it was all the high school's flags up and down the street.
And then the businesses would write notes to the opposing team. They would taunt the opposing team on there.
Paint them on their windows. I think one of the worst ones I saw, or the best, was just up in Nebraska, Red Cloud, Nebraska. They would a lot of the businesses would put like their team's opponent would be like the Cardinals, and they would show they would paint in the window like a cardinal on a spit being roast. So I just thought that was pretty funny. All the mean little taunts to the other schools painted on all the business windows.
Great.
And then we went out to a football game, to one of the local football games, and it was just unlike anything I'd ever seen out in Oregon. I mean, football is a big deal and people come out, but in the Midwest, especially rural Midwest, I mean, the whole town comes out. Like, those bleachers are full, and they put on a show. What were some of the things they were doing at the football game?
Well, they were shooting off cannons if any point was made by the home team.
Yeah, whenever they get a touchdown. There were actually not one, but two cannons. They were just these little mini cannons, but they were loud. I mean, you had to plug your ears because it was like they'd score a touchdown and it was like boom, boom.
And the crowds really got into it. The cheerleaders would lead a cheer and the whole crowd would get into it because it's a small town, and these little cheerleaders they're kids, so they support everybody.
Oh, and then the other thing they did too when they scored a touchdown, so not just the cannons, that wasn't enough. They also had, like, everybody in town, they had a motorcycle would bring it out. So at one end of the field, there was all these there was probably, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 motorcycles. And so as soon as they'd score the touchdown, everybody would rev them up so you'd hear, rah, 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 like 40 bikes just cranking up, and then the cannons. And so it was a pretty crazy time.
Yeah, they'd open up the town after the games for the kids, and like they'd open up the coffee shop so the kids can go and hang out and have fun. It was a big deal. I do have a complaint about the sports craze, though.
Oh, no.
Is that they shut down the music stations to play sports games on them on sport days.
Yeah, so sometimes you're out driving and you just want some music, and it's hard to find because half the stations are just
they'll all be different games.
Playing sports.
Right.
And then one thing I liked, too, is that they had reasonably priced food, which was pretty cool at the games. Hot dogs
and they would
pulled pork sandwiches.
They would have them half off, like after halftime. Like you could get a nice hot dog for $1.
Yeah,
it was
pretty good. So if you're ever in the Midwest, make sure you take in some high school football.
Yeah, that was fun.
You won't regret it. Then the last thing we come to tonight, the thing that surprised us about moving to the Midwest, was
we don't have to lock our doors, and we can even leave our purse or leave our bikes on the street, and nothing will get stolen.
Yeah, it's very safe out here, and we kind of figured it would be, especially rural areas, but it's like beyond what we could imagine. Like we've mentioned in other videos, like people will leave their cars outside of stores running when it's cold, and the keys in the ignition. I actually drove around with a guy one day, and in his pickup, he actually had a gun that he kept on the driver's seat with him. And he would go in a mini mart or something, and his truck would be running, keys in the ignition, gun on the front seat. And, he didn't have to worry about it because it's just really safe out here. And what did we see at the movie theater all the time?
Oh, so the kids would come to the movie theater and they would just leave their bikes on the sidewalk and they wouldn't be locked up. And I admit that one time I wasn't thinking, I was maybe loading stuff in and out of our house, and I just hung my purse on our store sign out front, and I forgot about it for several hours. Oh no. But I went out there, and of course everything was still in it, and I just took my purse back because you just don't have to worry about things like that.
Yeah, and then when driving around too, you'll notice, like, you'll drive by houses and they'll have like 5 or 6 bikes out on the lawn from the kids, and it's just, you see that everywhere, just valuable stuff sitting out. And
right, and in the stores too. The stores will leave out valuable things. They don't have to fence them. Just in the larger cities, we saw, them putting stock behind fences like is normal. But in the little cities, like, all this expensive equipment is just sitting out there for people to haul away if you wanted to.
Yeah, like the home improvement stores, they'll have like trailers and all of this farm equipment stuff, and it's just sitting out there day and night. And yeah, somebody could just literally take their trailer, load it up, and haul it off, but they're not worried about it. Yeah, and that's something you wouldn't really see as much on the West Coast.
Right. Well, we probably have to wrap this up because we have limited time today.
So anyway, that's the things that surprised us. If you've had any experiences in the Midwest, share with us in the comments below what surprised you. We would love to hear your stories. Maybe you could expand on some of the things we mentioned, or you have some totally new things that we haven't thought about. But anyway, we want to thank you for listening, and hope you'll see you again soon for another Corn-Fed Life podcast. God bless. So if you've enjoyed this, we hope you would consider supporting us on a regular basis. And you can do that
at patreon.com/cornfedlife. Or you could check out more of our videos at cornfedlife.com.